Governor John Connally of Texas were both hit by a would-be assassin's bullets as they toured downtown Dallas in an open automobile a short while ago. That is the latest word that has just come in from Dallas on United Press International. The Associated Press, in its first report, says that President Kennedy was shot just as his motorcade left downtown Dallas. Mrs. Kennedy, who was riding with him, jumped up and grabbed Mr. Kennedy and cried, "Oh, no." The motorcade sped on. Riding in the same car with the president for this particular motorcade was Governor and Mrs. John B. Connally, the governor of the state of Texas. According to the last report, both the president and the governor were hit by the bullets. And now one more ad has come in. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, is dead at the age of 46, shot by an assassin as he drove through the streets of Dallas, Texas, less than an hour ago.
June 3rd of 1965 marks the date the first American was to walk into space.
Hawaii, Houston flight.
Houston flight away, Capcom, go.
Tell him we're ready to have him get out when he is.
Roger, understand.
Tell him to give us a mark.
Gemini 4 away, Capcom.
Go ahead, Hawaii, Gemini 4.
Roger, we just had word from Houston. We're ready to have you get out whenever you're ready. Give us a mark when you egress the spacecraft.
Okay, we've got to go now, is that right?
Affirmative.
Okay. Let me take a close-up picture there. Oh, you speared up my windshield, We still got 3.5 more days to go, buddy.
On July 14th of 1965, the United States lost one of its greatest statesmen.
I'm afraid I'm nowhere near either as successful as I would want to be or as good as I ought to be. I like to think that I'm a high-minded, decent, enlightened citizen who's trying to do something, trying to play his part in his generation, play it well, play it fairly, play it squarely, and move on to my place in the shadows, having left behind something better than I found. This is what I'd like to think.
One moment in history that probably best represents the true personality of Adlai Stevenson was the incident at the United Nations when he addressed Soviet Ambassador Zorin.
All right, sir. Let me ask you one simple question. Do you, Ambassador Zorin, deny that the USSR has placed and is placing medium and intermediate range missiles and sights in Cuba? Yes or no? Don't wait for the translation, yes or no?
И поэтому не хочу отвечать на вопрос, который задается в прокурорском плане.
Put to me in the fashion in which a prosecutor does. In due course, sir, you will have your
You're
reply.
in a court of world opinion right now, and you can answer yes or no. You have denied that they exist. I want to know if I've understood you correctly.
Продолжайте вашу речь, господин Стивенсон.
Sir, would you please continue your statement? You will have your answer in due course.
Stevenson, would you continue your statement, please? You will receive the answer in the due course. Do not worry. I'm prepared to wait for my answer until hell freezes over, if that's your decision.
In August of 1965, Hurricane Betsy became of importance to the metropolitan Palm Beaches, and as always, WJNO was there.
All right, we're here now on the Lake Worth Pier, standing right on the edge of the Lake Worth Pier. The pier is blocked off, so you can't go out towards the end, and I don't believe with the wind as high as it is that I would want to go out to the end anyway.
The close of 1965 saw a pleasure cruise turn into a disaster at sea. WJNO covered it from start to finish.
Action News Central covers WJNO top news story of the hour.
The 545 passengers and crewmen of the pleasure liner SS Yarmouth Castle have begun abandoning ship in Bahamian waters. The ship caught fire early this morning, and the Coast Guard at Miami said the fire was a bad one, with flames spreading the entire length of the 379-foot vessel. A sister ship, the Bahama Star, and a Finnish motor ship were standing by, taking evacuees aboard.
Will you please check and see if you have John Hamilton on board and Steve Wright? John Hamilton and Steve Wright, do you have them? They are 14-year-old boys. Their mother is here on this ship, and she is about to have a nervous breakdown. She thinks they are dead.
United States Coast Guard helicopters have airlifted all but one of the 12 injured from the decks of the Bahamas Star, which has been standing by all morning picking up the passengers and crew of the Yarmouth Castle, which exploded and burned last night. They've taken 454 survivors on board thus far. From communications on scene, there appears to be at least two missing, two boys, 14 or 15 years of age. The Bahamas Star is now proceeding to Nassau, some 5 hours away. This is Jim Ferguson, WJNO News.
An ocean cruise liner with 549 persons bound for a happy weekend in Nassau turned from pleasure boat into a blistering inferno today. One man inched his way down the gangplank from a rescue ship at Nassau. He wore a white towel wrapped around his eyes and pleaded quietly, "Don't let me fall." Hundreds of persons lined the waterfront area, waiting to see who had made it. One woman stood near the rail of the Bahamas Star with a red bandana around her head. In her hand was a yellow flashlight. She waved it to those on the dock. She kept yelling, "This saved my life. This saved my life."
It's now 1966. In March of 1966, WJNO presented Sebring. Sebring 66 had a very unusual ending, and here it is.
They're waiting the yellow, they're keeping the other cars away. He's still trying to get down there, but it really doesn't matter. This is the finish line. I think he still went across here ahead of 10 miles. This is the biggest mystery I've ever seen, but I'm sure he went across ahead of 10 miles. So remember, the start-finish line is really, the finish line is here. This is tremendous. Art Beck, can you tell us officially that Gurney went by that line up there too soon? Is that so? He did. He went by the finish line before the 10 p.m. horn, which means that he had to go another lap. Which means he cannot push this car completely around this course in 15 minutes. Well, I wouldn't think so. I don't even think Batman could do that.
In February of 1966, President Johnson journeyed to Honolulu, and from that, the Declaration of Honolulu.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Governor Brown, Mayor Yorty, ladies and gentlemen, we went to Honolulu to meet the leaders of the government of South Vietnam. They and their people understand, and we understand, that the war we are helping them fight must be a war that will be won on two fronts. One front is the military. The other front is the struggle against social injustice, against hunger and disease and ignorance, against political apathy and indifference. I say to you that we shall fight all of these battles successfully, and we shall prevail.
On the 2nd of June, 1966, the Surveyor mooncraft landed on the moon.
Retro is now firing. Stable ignition. We are now at 5,148 miles an hour. Down to 116,000 feet, 4590.
6G velocity.
Retro burnout is confirmed. 10,000 feet. All signals are normal. 8,000 feet. 250 feet per second. 8,000 feet. 200 feet per second.
Yes, looks good.
Surveyors reported in excellent condition. All signals look good.
100 feet per second.
100 feet.
100 feet. 100 feet.
13 feet per second speed. Beautiful.
On the next day, the 3rd of June, Gemini 9 was launched.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
We have a liftoff. It looks like 39 minutes, 32 seconds after the hour.
Miami 9, elevation 94.9er, range 2.37 miles, 39 feet per second. We can actually determine that it is tumbling because of the act light and the running light variations. Roger. How are you? We've got a weird-looking machine here. What does it look like? Okay, both the clamshells of the nose cone are still on, but they're open wide. The front release says let go, and the back explosive bolts attached to the TDA have both fired. It appears that one of the bolts from the band is fired, so what's keeping it together is the split disconnect for a small electrical connector that fires the bolts on the band. Roger, understand. So the jaws is like an alligator's jaw that's open at about 25 to 30 degrees, and both the piston springs looks like they're fully extended. Roger.
Years ago, when WJNO signed on in 1936, we called ourselves the voice of the Palm Beaches, and quite rightly so. Now, in 1966, WJNO is more the voice of the Palm Beaches than ever before.
The following is a WJNO editorial written by Bob Hawkey, news director of WJNO.
Despite the complaints we hear on several fronts, West Palm Beach is moving ahead. Most of us are so close to the progress that it escapes our attention.
Thank you. Good morning. Welcome to another day of Gal on the Go. And we're right about up to vacation time.
And a very pleasant good morning, everyone. Welcome to another day of Meet Our Businessmen. Our special guest throughout the day today will be Mr. Bill Devane of Palm Beach Fairgrounds Speedway on Southern Boulevard here in West Palm Beach. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. How are you today?
Fine. Pleasure to have you on Meet Our...
Again, many thanks and hi to everyone. Dear Stop and Shop, wanted a cast fishnet. Will trade stamps or nice Exoria plant.
WJNO open mic.
Today is my birthday.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Gene Burns with WJNO's Evening Report. Professional golfer Tony Lima, his wife, and two other persons were killed last night when their twin engine...
Following a hearing before Judge Hugh McMillan Thursday, Charles Hawkins, 25 years old, of Delray Beach, was bound over to the grand jury on a charge of first-degree murder.
Hi there. I'm Art Duncan, and I'd like to invite you to join me for open house. We're going back in time tonight.
Good evening and welcome to Jazzology, the finest in recorded jazz music. Classic contemporary jazz in the authentic New Orleans and Chicago tradition. And this is yours truly, George Buck, inviting you to listen to the next full hour for our program of authentic...
I do. Yours truly, Jim Ferguson, here on WJNO's Night Beat Show. Now until 12 we go.
Weekend Showtime it is, everybody. Bill Godby, your musical host, will be around from now until about...
For the past 90 minutes, you've been listening to a WJNO radio special. 30 years of broadcasting as seen through the eyes of WJNO Radio. 30 years of broadcasting to you, our lifelong friends of the Palm Beaches.